You are walking through a city street on a warm afternoon in July. The sun is high. The air smells of bread and river water. Somewhere nearby, a woman steps out of her house and begins to dance. She is not smiling. Her arms move. Her feet strike the cobblestones again and again. There is no music. There is no reason, and she does not stop. This is not a story about a party that got out of hand. This is a true event, recorded by physicians, city clerks, and a bishop who watched it unfold. It happened in the city of Strasbourg in the summer of 1518. Historians call it the Dancing Plague. For 4 centuries, nobody has fully explained it. Her name was Frau Trophea. That is the name written in the surviving city records. On a July day, she stepped into the street and began to dance. She danced through the afternoon. She danced into the evening. Her feet bled through her shoes. Still, she did not stop. Neighbors watched. Some laughed at first, then the laughter faded because something about the way she moved unsettled them. Her face showed no joy. Her eyes seemed distant, fixed on nothing. She danced for nearly a week, collapsing periodically from exhaustion, only to rise again and continue. Within days, others joined her, not because they wanted to. They could not stop themselves either. By the end of the first month, contemporary accounts describe dozens of people dancing in the streets of Strasbourg. Some estimates from the period claim the number eventually reached into the hundreds. The city physicians were called in. What they diagnosed still troubles historians today. The doctors of Strasbourg did not conclude that this was madness, or possession, or a curse. Their diagnosis, according to surviving records, was that the dancers were suffering from overheated blood, and that the only cure was to let the affliction burn itself out. Their prescription was dancing. Think about that for a moment. The city's solution to uncontrollable dancing was more dancing. Officials cleared out a guild hall. They built a wooden stage in an open market. They hired musicians, pipers, and drummers, and even paid strongmen to physically support the afflicted so they could keep moving without collapsing entirely. The city believed motion was medicine. What it created instead was a stage for something far darker to spread. People kept dying. The dancers, driven past the limits of human endurance, began collapsing from heart attacks, strokes, and complete physical exhaustion. Historian John Waller, who has written extensively on the event, has estimated that at the peak of the outbreak, as many as 15 people per day may have died from the strain of non-stop movement. There was no rest. There was no relief. Only the compulsion to keep going, and the body eventually failing beneath it. Why would music and public dancing platforms be a response to what was clearly killing people? To understand that, you have to understand what Strasbourg believed was happening. There is a medieval concept called Saint Vitus's dance, named for a Christian saint associated with epilepsy and involuntary movement. In the folklore of the period, it was believed that Saint Vitus could curse people with uncontrollable dancing if they angered him, and that the only way to lift the curse was to dance it out in his honor, sometimes in front of his shrine or chapel. This wasn't fringe superstition. It shaped how an entire city responded to a medical crisis. So the authorities didn't try to stop the dancing, they tried to outlast it. Eventually, weeks later, the outbreak did fade. The dancers were removed from the city center and taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus in the hills outside Strasbourg, where they were prayed over, given red shoes marked with crosses, and led through a ritual meant to break the curse. Whether the ritual worked, or whether the affliction had simply run its natural course, nobody recorded with certainty. What the records do agree on is that the dancing eventually stopped. But the deeper question was never answered. What actually caused hundreds of people to dance themselves to exhaustion, in some cases to death, with no music, no ritual, and no apparent desire to do so? Modern researchers have proposed several explanations. and none of them is fully satisfying on its own. One theory points to ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on damp rye, and it produces compounds chemically related to LSD. Consuming contaminated bread has been linked historically to hallucinations, muscle spasms, and convulsions. It is a compelling theory, but critics note that ergot poisoning typically causes cramping and restricted blood flow to the limbs, which would make sustained, coordinated dancing for days at a time extremely difficult, not easier. Another theory points to stress. The summer of 1518 followed years of famine, crop failure, and disease in the Alsace region. Strasbourg's population was already suffering from severe food shortages and a rise in deaths from starvation-related illness. Historian John Waller has argued that this created the conditions for a mass psychogenic illness, a stress-induced psychological state that can produce genuine, involuntary physical symptoms across a group of people, especially in a culture that already believed such curses were possible. In other words, the belief itself may have been part of the mechanism. If you grew up believing St. Vitus could seize your body and force it to dance against your will, and your community was already living through starvation and fear, your mind may have found the exact escape valve your culture had already prepared for you. This is where the story stops being just historical curiosity and starts becoming something closer to a mirror. Because the dancing plague of 1518 was not the only recorded outbreak of its kind. Similar events, smaller in scale, are recorded in the regions surrounding the Rhine going back for centuries before 1518, and a small number of similar episodes were documented afterward as well. These were not isolated hallucinations of a single disturbed woman. They were a recognized pattern tied to specific conditions, collective fear, physical deprivation, and a shared cultural belief in supernatural affliction. Mass psychogenic illness has not vanished from the modern world. It has simply changed its shape. In recent decades, researchers have documented clusters of unexplained physical symptoms spreading through schools, factories, and close-knit communities. Symptoms with no identifiable toxin or pathogen, appearing almost simultaneously among people who share close social contact and high collective stress. The dancing has stopped. The underlying mechanism, according to many researchers who study these cases, has not, which raises an uncomfortable question. If several hundred people in Strasbourg could be driven to dance until their hearts gave out, convinced they had no choice in the matter, how much of what any of us believe we are choosing to do is really our own? Frau Troffea's name survives because a clerk wrote it down before the dancing had a name at all. She was not a witch. She was not deranged. By most accounts, she appears to have been an ordinary woman living through an extraordinary famine in a city that had already told her, through generations of folklore, exactly what her suffering was supposed to look like if it ever became unbearable. She stepped into the street, her body began to move, and 400 years later, we are still trying to decide whether she was dancing or whether something else entirely was moving her. The next time your body does something before your mind has agreed to it, the next time your foot taps, ask yourself the question Strasbourg never fully answered. Is that you moving, or is it something your mind has been waiting all along for permission to release?